Hey, Garrett, what was this summer like for you with the minors canceled and you having to wait to start your pro career?
Yeah, it was definitely, not as expected. Especially for my case, because I didn't get to play as soon as I was drafted. And so we got sent home about a week before games for spring training, which was, such a bummer. But, you had to kind of do whatever you could to stay ready and keep training just because we didn't know with expected date to return. So definitely a little bit unfortunate, but I think the time away from the game, helps you understand how much you love it and and expecting the anticipation to get back to the field.
Nathan Ruiz, you're up next. Go ahead, Nathan.
Hey, Garrett. One thing looking at your most recent numbers from Tennessee, one thing that really jumps out is the boost in strikeouts your junior year. What do you attribute that to? What caused that change?
Yeah, no, I kind of had a hard look myself in the mirror after my sophomore season. I think I might have struck out 37 guys in around 80 innings, and I just knew I needed to change something if I wanted to continue to have success and continue to play the game at a high level. So, I messed around with my delivery just a little bit, and I knew I needed to throw the ball a bit harder, and I added my curveball again, and adding that pitch really solidified being able to punch more guys out for me, given righties and lefties a little bit different approach. And I think as I continued to strike a few more guys out in the Cape Cod League, and it helped grow my confidence. And I attribute to just kind of knowing I needed to change, and I went out and changed it and then had more success. So at the end of the day, it made me a little bit more confident, and the strikeouts numbers climbed pretty high.
Joe Trezza, you're up next. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, Garrett, just following up on that a little bit. When you talk to people around the game about you, the two things they mention a lot are your polish and your command. Where do you think those two things come from, and what do you attribute them to?
Yeah, I think that's, one of the biggest thing that separates me from the next guy is my ability to command all four pitches. And I think it's just something that I've really prided myself on, playing catch, throwing bullpens. I just have an extreme focus on what I'm doing, what I'm trying to accomplish that day. And I think as someone, now I've kind of been victim sometimes of throwing too many strikes, throwing pitches down the middle too often. So I've had to nibble away to perfect my craft a little bit more. And I think ultimately it's had a lot of success for me, and it's given me opportunity to, focus on other parts of my game as well that I need improvements on, like velocity, commanding, better breaking pitches for more punch outs and stuff like that. So I think just going back to, it's something that from a young age, I've taken a lot of pride in, and it's continued to rise as I've gotten older.
Garrett, first of all, were you at the Angels alternate site?
I was invited a little bit later, but I was there for about a month and got to throw a few innings and throw some bullpens and get some training with
Because we talked to a lot of guys who were at the Orioles alternate site. How was the Angels alternate site set up, and what did you get from it?
So when I first got out there, the process of actually getting out there from when they called me to telling that I got to fly out there and compete was about 10 days due to all the COVID protocols and getting tested and quarantining. So, I knew it was going to be a challenge, getting there and, with all the challenges. But again, I was so pumped up because it was my first time pitching in a game in almost 15 months. It was a weird, bizarre situation for me, but I spent a lot of time at Blair Field, which was the alternate site. And then I actually got to throw on one game at Angel Stadium, which was an awesome experience. That was my first time facing, live hitters in a game scenario in a long time. And it was really a neat experience for me, just being around major league players and, being able to pick people's brains and just grow my game a little bit.
David Driver, you're up next. Go ahead, David.
Hey, Garrett, two quick ones. You and Zach Peak were both drafted the same year, both from Virginia. How much time did you spend with him in the Angel system? And did you grow up following the Norfolk Tides, going to any of their games?
Yeah, Zach Peak was a good friend of mine. He was drafted, I think, the number right after me. And we were together for all of that first year. And I was sad to see him get traded, but then fortunately, you know, I get to join him again in a new atmosphere, and he's reached out to me, congratulating me. I've talked to him some about him and Kyle Bernovich. Some have been curious and, you know, laying out the land for me, you know, answering any questions I've had, and I'm excited to join those two again. And yeah, I went to plenty of Norfolk Tides games growing up. I was very excited when I got informed I was going to Baltimore because, you know, I played a few games there in high school and remember seeing there. And, you know, I think when being a little kid, I couldn't believe how fast those pitchers were throwing. It almost looked like it was a different game when I was watching. And, you know, to be back in this organization and getting the chance to play there myself is dream come true.
Thank you.
Dan Connolly, you're up next. Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Garrett. Mike Elias made a point of talking about seeing you in the SEC and the fact that you competed there. 3 of the 4 top picks by the Orioles this year are SEC guys. 4th rounder last year in 2019. Looking forward to going against some of these guys, you know, that you obviously, I'm going with these guys you obviously played against.
A little bit, but I think I heard for the most part what you said. But yeah, I think growing up in the SEC, you know, there's a certain competitive nature of the entire league, and yeah, it's an exciting time. Anytime that you get to come encounter with guys that you've played or played against, or even gotten the chance to learn from. And I think, you know, baseball's such a small world when you travel different places or even working out a facility. So you might never know who you're going to come in contact to. So definitely cool, you know, getting to travel around the East Coast and in the SEC and play baseball at the highest level in college. And yeah, it's going to be exciting, you know, meeting some of the new teammates and playing against them as well.
Scott Cash, you're up next. Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, Garrett, back here in Norfolk. I just wonder, when you were at Grassfield High, what were your dreams like there, and how does real life compare to what you may have been dreaming back then?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, no doubt. You know, growing up on the East Coast, you know, I thought I was going to go to an ACC school and, you know, continue to play my career and then eventually into the big league. So it was a great, you know, foundation to grow up there and then go off to Tennessee. And so initially I've always dreamed since a little kid, you know, even going through some of my school paperwork when I'm 5, 6, 7, you know, it says, what do you want to do when you grow up? And it says, you know, I want to be a pro baseball player. I want to play baseball. And, you know, the fact that this is becoming more of a reality is something special. And, you know, I want to do everything in my power to make that come true.
Joe Trezza with the follow-up. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Garrett, you're far from the first original Angels farmhand to now be over here in Baltimore. And one of the things that a lot of you guys have in common is that because of the number of innings you threw in college, you didn't necessarily throw your draft year after you got drafted. I'm just curious because not a lot of people might know that much about you because of that. But what's it like being drafted and then not throwing for a year? What's that experience like from like a day-to-day level?
No, that's a great question. I think when you look back at it now, I think the Angels were doing the right thing, you know, right away. I threw a lot of innings, you know, put a lot of work on my back going into that following season. I might not have gotten, you know, too much to gain from throwing 20, 30 more innings that year, but it's definitely different. You know, it gave me the chance to finally, you know, work on the sport and, you know, the art of pitching a little bit without having to compete and like get people out. You know, it's a tough sport. You know, it's not like you can go to the basketball gym and just shoot hoops, you know, for 8 hours straight. Pitching is kind of a fine art where you can't necessarily waste your bullets in training or, you know, in the game. So it gave me the effect to, you know, work on some parts of my game that I wasn't necessarily able to work on in the past, because when you cross that white line and it's time to pitch against the hitter, it's you versus me. You don't have time to sit there and, you know, focus on things you need to work on. It's game time. So it gave me the chance to really train in the sport of baseball without having to compete and get people out, that was probably the first time in my career that's happened. And I think it has helped me for the best, and it's helped grow my hunger for the game to get back out there.
Steve Molesky, you're up. Go ahead, Steve.
Garrett, no doubt these teams do a lot of homework on players they're going to acquire in a trade. I'm wondering how it works on your end. After you're traded, you find out you're going to be an Oriole. Do you reach out to some people you might know in the organization? How has the team reached out to you? Have you done a little homework on what you might be joining here?
Yeah, no doubt. You know, it was a little bit of a shock. I knew I could have been thrown around in some trade talks, but you know, when it happens, it still surprises you a bit, but I'm very blessed and excited for the opportunity. You know, right after the Angels called me to let me know I'd been traded, a number of people reached out from the Orioles, you know, welcomed me to the team, you know, Mike Elias and Matt Blood with player development and Chris Holt, the pitching coordinator and now pitching coach. So, you know, it seems like they're very excited to have me and can't wait to, you know, start working with me. And yeah, I did some things too. You know, I talked to, you know, some players that have been traded over there and got the lay of the land a bit. And, you know, it sounds like some good things are happening over there and I'm excited to join the team.
We have time for a couple more questions. Adam Winkler, you're up. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Garrett, another one from down here in the 757. Obviously, you know, a bunch of folks down here, this kind of being, you know, O's country with the Tides connection, were pretty stoked when they saw the news. I'm wondering what, you know, the feedback's been. Did you hear from some folks maybe that hadn't texted in a while? What's been the feedback expecting you to, you know, to be in black and orange for a bit?
Yeah, no doubt. It's always, you know, it's awesome being back in orange. I wore orange at Tennessee, of course, but, you know, it's been pretty special from the feedback from friends, family. You know, my grandfather grew up in Baltimore. My first MLB game I ever went to was in Camden Yards. So, and with growing up around the Tides, you know, people are so excited to, you know, one day get the opportunity to come see me pitch in a big league park. And I've heard nothing but love and excitement, and I feel the same way.
Scott Cash with the follow-up. Go ahead, Scott.
Garrett, I seem to remember you were a 4.0 GPA at Grassfield. You're a scholar athlete for SEC of the year, and I know you're involved in the community. What part of how does that balance out your life? That it's beyond baseball, I suspect.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, you know, I'm very fortunate. I have two wonderful parents that, you know, instilled, you know, some great values in me. And, you know, baseball is just what I do, not who I am. So you know, playing baseball has opened a lot of doors for me, allowing myself to, you know, impact the community in a high way. And, you know, I think I've just taken pride in being the best person I can be, you know, on and off the field. So if I can give a little kid a pitching lesson or sign a ball or, you know, I've kept some of my old jerseys to hopefully one day give out to some fans, just to have more of an impact. You know, I'm going to take it, because I was a little kid one time going to, you know, Norfolk, you know, wanting an autograph or, you know, asking someone to take a picture. And I know the impact that it can make because I've been there myself. So it's something that I've enjoyed doing, and I think I'll continue to do it my entire life.
Last question, Joe Trezza. Go ahead, Joe.
Garrett, do you remember how old you were when you went to that first Oriole game? And were there any Orioles you looked up to growing up?
Yeah, I think I was around 7 or 8. I went there with my brother, my mom, and some friends, and I've even got a picture of it with me in the Orioles shirt, and I think my brother had a uniform on. And I think it was just such a cool experience for me now that I'm now with the Orioles, you know, being that was my first experience. Seeing the game at the highest level was pretty cool. And, you know, growing up, you know, Brian Roberts comes to mind, was a player that I really looked up to. And I remember seeing Miguel Tejada play for Norfolk Tides and then be up in the big leagues. So I'd say those two are close to home for me.